I never thought revenge would taste like champagne and wilted roses. But there I was, on the night of my sister's wedding, choking it down with a smile plastered across my face. My father, Harlan Voss, the kingpin of Voss Biotech in the glittering hellhole of Manhattan, rose from his seat like he owned the damn room, which, let's be honest, he pretty much did, and declared to the 200 assembled elites that his eldest daughter, Everly, was nothing but a disgraced tramp who'd clawed her way back from the gutter. The words hung in the air like tear gas, and the gasps rippled through the crowd faster than a stock market crash. But what they didn't know, what only the man beside me, Jax Harlan, ex-Navy SEAL and my secret weapon, suspected, was that those scars hidden beneath my bridesmaid gown weren't from some bar fight or bad breakup. They were the brutal roadmap of a body swap gone wrong. A betrayal so deep it had stolen my life and handed it to a monster. It started 5 years ago, back when I was 25 and still believed blood was thicker than the experimental serums my father peddled to the ultra-rich. Voss Biotech wasn't just another Silicon Alley darling churning out anti-aging creams. It was a front for something darker. A clandestine division called Project Echo, where they toyed with neural mapping and cryogenic transfers, essentially swapping minds between bodies like trading stocks. Dad called it immortality insurance for billionaires dodging cancer or FBI indictments. I was the lab rat, though I didn't know it then. Fresh out of Columbia with a bioethics degree and stars in my eyes, I interned at the company, idolizing the man who'd built our family's fortune on the bones of forgotten experiments. The betrayal hit like a freight train on a rainy October night in 2020. I'd uncovered the files by accident, late shift in the sub-basement lab, sifting through encrypted drives for a routine audit. Project Echo wasn't theoretical, it was operational. Dad had been swapping low-level employees' consciousnesses into dying bodies to test longevity protocols, discarding the originals like used syringes. Worse, the funding laundered through shell companies tied to human trafficking rings in Eastern Europe. Bodies weren't donated, they were stolen. I confronted him in his corner office overlooking Central Park, the city lights mocking my naivety. "Everly, sweetheart," he said, swirling his scotch. "This is bigger than you. Sign the NDA, or you're out." I didn't sign. Instead, I copied the drives onto a thumb drive and emailed them to a journalist contact at the New York Times. By dawn, federal agents were swarming the building, and I was the hero whistleblower, or so I thought. But Dad was always 3 steps ahead, a chess grandmaster in a world of checkers players. That night, as sirens wailed outside our Upper East Side penthouse, he cornered me in the kitchen, his face twisted in that paternal mask he wore so well. "You think you can bury me, kid? I've got contingencies." A prick in my neck, some sedative lace dart from his pocket, and the world blurred into black. I woke up strapped to a gurney in a sterile chamber deep under the Voss facility in Jersey, the air thick with ozone and fear. Doctors in hazmat suits hovered like vultures, their voices muffled through masks. Neural sync at 87%. Cortical bridges forming. Transfer initiating. My screams echoed uselessly as the machine hummed to life, a crown of electrodes digging into my skull, IVs pumping God knows what into my veins. It wasn't death, it was erasure. They were swapping me out, my mind, my essence, into the body of a John Doe, some unidentified vagrant they'd snatched off the streets, his form riddled with track marks and untreated wounds. Dad's voice crackled over the intercom. "This is for the family, Everly. You'll understand someday." The pain was biblical, a white-hot unraveling of self. I felt my thoughts fraying, splintering into the stranger's neural pathways. His memories bleeding into mine like ink in water, flashes of Skid Row alleys. Needle highs. A life of invisible agony. When the machine powered down, I wasn't in my body anymore. I was in his, gaunt, scarred from years of street fights and infections. Lungs wheezing with untreated pneumonia. They dumped me in a Brooklyn warehouse. A suicide note pinned to my shirt confessing to the embezzlement I'd supposedly orchestrated to fund my addiction. The real me, my original body, flawless and familiar, was prepped for Dad's endgame, a vessel for one of his cronies. A cartel lawyer facing life in Supermax, whose mind would slip in seamlessly during the chaos. The crime I took the fall for? Not just whistleblowing sabotage, but fabricated evidence painting me as the mastermind behind Voss's dirty money trail. Dad's empire teetered, but he spun it, his poor daughter, corrupted by drugs, stealing from the family nest. The headline screamed, "Heiresses fall from grace," and I rotted in Rikers for 2 years, fighting off shivs and despair in a body that wasn't mine. Scars multiplied, jagged lines from a prison yard brawl where I defended a cellmate from guards, burns from a botched tattoo, removal gone wrong in the infirmary. Every mirror was a lie. Every breath a reminder that Harlan Voss had traded his daughter's soul for his legacy. But bodies break, wills don't. In the dim-lit library of the prison, I pieced together a plan, devouring law books and smuggling messages via a sympathetic guard who'd lost his own kid to the streets. Jax entered the picture during a pro bono legal visit, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like storm clouds and a seal tattoo peeking from his cuff. He wasn't there for me initially. He was investigating Voss for a buddy's widow, tying the biotech giant to black market organ trades. Our eyes met across the scarred table, and something clicked, a shared rage against the untouchables. "Everly Voss," he'd said, flipping open his file. "Or whoever the hell you are now." I leaned in, whispering the truth. The swap. The files. The father's sin. He didn't flinch. "I've taken down worse in Fallujah. Let's get you back." Parole came after 24 months, courtesy of Jax's relentless appeals and a planted story in ProPublica hinting at anomalies in my case. I emerged into the gray drizzle of a Queens bus stop, this borrowed shell of a body cloaked in oversized sweats, but with Jax's hand steady on my elbow. He got me clean and A meetings in church basements, PT sessions in his cramped Astoria apartment overlooking the East River. We trained like soldiers, me rebuilding strength in yoga studios that smelled of patchouli and privilege, him teaching me knife work on rainy rooftops, his voice gravelly with that Carolina drawl. "Your old man's a ghost in the machine, Everly." But machines glitch. Love crept in sideways. Born of late-night confessions over takeout lo mein, his ghosts from Afghanistan, my phantom limbs from a life stolen. He proposed on the Brooklyn Bridge at midnight. Ring from a pawn shop glinting under sodium lights. Marry me, not the body. Marry the fight. But revenge isn't a solo op, it's a demolition job. We spent the next 2 years in the shadows. Jax leveraging his SEAL network, hackers from Quantico dropouts, PIs with grudges against Big Pharma. I clawed my way back into Voss circles under a false identity, Evie Harlan, distant cousin and event planner, worming into the family orbit via my younger sister Lila's upcoming nuptials to some hedge fund bro. Lila, blissfully ignorant, golden child perfect, had always been Dad's favorite, the one who never questioned the private jets or the donations to offshore accounts. The wedding was her coronation. A $2 million extravaganza at the plaza. Black tie affair with A-listers and senators rubbing elbows over caviar canapes. Our plan hinged on the vows. That sacred moment when lies unravel. Jax, posing as my +1, a security consultant for the event, had the thumb drive recreated. Its data now a virus ready to deploy via the venue's Wi-Fi. Beaming evidence to every guest's phone. Audio logs of the swap procedure. My screams digitized, bank trails linking Dad to traffickers, even a deepfake proof video of him greenlighting the hit. Controversial? Hell yes. We debated it for weeks in Jax's truck. Parked on Lovers Lanes in Jersey. Was exposing Lila's fairy tale worth the fallout? Would hacking a wedding make us the villains? Ends justify the means, Jax growled. But I saw the doubt in his eyes. My decision. Pull the trigger. If it shattered her day, so be it. She'd thank me when the dust settled. Or hate me. Either way, Dad's throne crumbled. The ceremony dragged under the crystal chandeliers. Lila radiant in ivory lace. Her groom fidgeting like a kid at prom. I stood beside her as maid of honor. This stranger's hands trembling under silk gloves. Heart pounding against ribs that weren't mine. Dad caught my eye from the front row. His smirk a razor. He thought he'd won. That the prodigal ghost was buried. Reception kicked off with toasts and string quartets. The room a swirl of Vera Wang and Veuve Clicquot. Then it came, his speech. Mic in hand, voice booming like a boardroom edict. To Lila, my true legacy. And to those who've strayed. His gaze locked on me. Everly, if you're watching from wherever the hell you slunk off to, know this. Blood doesn't forgive betrayal. You're dead to us, a junkie whore who tried to drag us down. The room froze. Forks clinking to a halt. Whispers erupting like fireworks. Lila's face crumpled. Hand flying to her mouth, the groom shifted uncomfortably. I felt Jax tense beside me. His calloused palm brushing mine under the table, a silent, now. But I rose slow. Deliberate. Every eye on me like spotlights in an interrogation room. Dad, I said, voice steady as the Hudson. You always did love a monologue. But stories have sequels. Laughter? No. Just that heavy silence. The kind that precedes a storm. I peeled off the gloves first. Deliberate as stripping a bomb. Revealing the roadmap of ink and scar tissue snaking up my forearms, tales from a body that had clawed through hell while my soul screamed from afar. Gasps turned to murmurs. Phones slipping from manicured hands. Dad's face drained of color. That smug veneer cracking like cheap porcelain. What the, Everly?
Impossible.
You're. He trailed off. The Emperor glimpsing his nakedness. Jax stood then. All 6'3" of coiled lethality in his dress blues. One arm sliding around my waist like an anchor in a squall. Not impossible, Mr.
Voss.
Just overdue. His voice cut through the din. That seal calm masking the thunder beneath. He nodded to the AV tech, a plant from his old unit, and the room's massive screens flickered to life. Not with slideshows of Lila's bridal shower, but with grainy footage from that Jersey bunker, me, strapped down, convulsing as the machine whirred. Dad's voice overlaying like a devil's narration. Initiate transfer. Make it clean. Chaos bloomed. Women clutched pearls, men loosened ties, barking into phones for lawyers. Lila staggered toward me. Veil askew. Eyes wide as saucers.
Evie?
Is that
You?
What the fuck did he do? I pulled her into a hug. Her Chanel no. 5 mixing with my thrift store soap. Whispering, he stole me.
Cease.
To save his ass. The evidence cascaded. PDFs of falsified psych evals labeling me delusional, wire transfers to a Romanian clinic where donors vanished. Even emails from Dad to the cartel fixer whose mind they'd slotted into my old shell, a body now rotting in a Miami penthouse under an alias. My original form, the one without these war wounds, had been paraded at board meetings, puppeteered by a killer's ghost until it overdosed on fentanyl last year. Poetic. In a grim way. Dad lunged for the mic, bellowing. Fabrications. Deep fakes from a disgruntled ex. But the virus Jax's hacker buddy unleashed was thorough. Guest devices buzzed with alerts. News apps lighting up. Voss biotech scandal. CEO accused of daughter's mind swap cover-up. Stocks tanked in real time. Tickers on Wall Street screens plummeting like Icarus. Security goons, ex-Marines on Dad's payroll, moved in. But Jax intercepted. A blur of precision strikes. Elbow to a throat. Knee to a gut. Bodies crumpling without a shot fired. Stand down, he growled. Eyes locked on Dad. Or I make this personal. The room held its breath. No one wanted a brawl at the plaza. Not with TMZ drones probably circling outside. In the eye of that hurricane, I faced him. My father, the architect of my unmaking. Up close, he reeked of bourbon and fear, jowls quivering. You were always too soft. Everly. This company, this life, it's survival of the fittest. I did it for us. Lies. All of it. The secret he'd buried deepest? Not just the swap. But why me? Flashback to that warehouse awakening, among the haze of pain. I'd glimpsed the real culprit. Mom's deathbed confession. Recorded and tucked in the files. Cancer? Yes. But accelerated by Dad's trials, experimental drugs tested on her, without consent. I'd been next.
Apure nora al canvas.
But when I blew the whistle, he flipped the script. Sacrificed the daughter to shield the empire. I'd borne the scars of his sins, literal and figurative, while he toasted at galas. The controversial pivot came then. The decision that still haunts my sleepless nights. Jax had the kill shot ready, a button on his phone to trigger IRS audits.
SEC shutdown.
Even Interpol warrants for the trafficking ties. One tap. And Voss Biotech folded like a bad hand. But Lila's sweet. Oblivious Lila grabbed my arm. Tears streaming black mascara. Don't destroy everything.
Ev.
He's still our dad. Her plea twisted the knife. Family loyalty. That toxic American dream we'd all swallowed. Jack shot me a look. Your call.
Soldier.
I hesitated. The room a tableau of frozen privilege. Violins silent in the corner. Mercy or mayhem? In that beat. I chose the gray, leaked the file selectively. Enough to gut Dad's power, but spare the rank-and-file employees. The ones who'd lose homes in the fallout. Controversial as hell, pundits would later call it half-measure vigilantism, debating if I'd enabled the beast or slain it softly. Dad saw the opening, lunged for me with a feral snarl, but Jax clotheslined him mid-stride, tucks ripping at the seams. The cops swarmed minutes later, tipped by Jax's anonymous call, NYPD brass, not the bought ones. Dad went down in cuffs, sputtering obscenities as they Mirandized him amid the trampled cake. You'll regret this. Everly. Blood always calls. But his empire?
Crumbling.
By morning, headlines screamed from coast to coast. Body swap horror. Tycoon trades daughter's soul for fortune. Protests erupted outside Voss HQ. Echo survivors trending on X. Survivors of botched transfers crawling out of woodwork with their own scars. Lila divorced her groom that week. Can't marry into madness. She texted me from a spa in the Hamptons and moved in with me and Jax. Our makeshift family forged in Astoria's brick tenements. Revenge's afterglow faded fast.
Though.
Jax and I married quietly 6 months later. In a city hall ceremony with falafel from the corner truck and a justice of the peace who looked like he'd seen worse.
No Skarsgård.
No speeches, just vows exchanged over the rumble of the 7 train. In sickness and in health, he murmured, thumb tracing a faded burn on my wrist. No matter the shell, we honeymooned in the Smokies, his Carolina roots calling, hiking trails where the air tasted of pine and possibility. But the tension lingered, a low hum like distant artillery. Dad's trial loomed, a media circus in federal court downtown, where I'd testify in this borrowed body, cross-examined by sharks who'd once golfed with him at Winged Foot. The climax built slow, a pressure cooker of depositions and dark web leaks. Jax uncovered the final thread, Dad's contingency. A dead man's switch in Project Echo servers, set to erase all evidence if he went down, including my neural map. The digital ghost that could reverse the swap if tech ever caught up. We'd raced to the facility, now a ghost town under FBI seals, dodging patrols in the pre-dawn fog. Inside, alarms wailed as I jacked into the mainframe, fingers flying over keys slick with sweat. Got it, I gasped, downloading the map, my essence, preserved in code. But the twist hit like a gut punch. The file wasn't just mine. Buried in metadata. A second profile, Lila's. Dad hadn't spared her out of love. He'd prepped her as backup. A younger vessel if my incident failed. The golden child was complicit. Or at least slated for the altar. Her accidental overdose scare 2 years back. A dry run for neural prep. Betrayal squared. Deeper than bone. I confronted her that night in our kitchen. Pasta boiling over on the stove. Jax hovering like a shadow. You knew? Her face crumpled. That same wide-eyed innocence from the wedding. Not all.
Ev.
He said it was for insurance. If we got sick. I was scared. Lies or half-truths. It didn't matter. The rift cracked us open. She packed a bag by dawn, fleeing to Mom's old beach house in the Hamptons. Our sisterhood a casualty of the machine. Dad's trial was a spectacle. The kind of American theater that makes you question if justice is blind or just wearing a blindfold from Gucci. Federal Courthouse in Foley Square. Summer heat wave turning the marble halls into a sauna of sweat and schadenfreude. I took the stand in a crisp pantsuit Jax had scavenged from a Brooklyn thrift. This body's gaunt frame swimming in it. But my chin high. The scars? No hiding them now, sleeves rolled up. A deliberate fuck you to the defense team's pearl clutching. Exhibit A, the prosecutor drawled. A shark named Rivera, with a Bronx accent and zero patience. MS. Voss. Describe the procedure. I did. Voice steady. Painting the horror in brushstrokes, the electrodes like spider legs on my scalp. The flood of alien memories, heroin highs crashing into my ethics seminars. Street wisdom overriding my dreams.
Jury leaned in.
Faces a mix of revulsion and that morbid fascination folks get with true crime pods. Dad watched from the defense table. Shackled but suited. His lawyer a silver-tongued fossil from Skadden ARP's spinning yarns of experimental consent and familial pressure. Cross-exam. MS. Voss, or should I say, Mr. Ramirez. The transient whose body you now inhabit, you claim this swap without evidence. Sounds like schizophrenia.
No.
The courtroom tittered. I felt Jax's glare from the gallery. A laser sight on the bastard's temple. But I had the map. decrypted by Jax's tech whiz. Projected on screens. Waveforms spiking. My brainprint merging with the dead man's. Call it what you want, I shot back. But that's my mind in his meat. And Harlan Voss pulled the switch. The room went pin-drop silent. Heavier than the wedding's gasp. The revenge peaked not in verdict, guilty on all counts. Life without parole. Voss Biotech seized and dissected by feds, but in the unmaking. Post-trial. With assets frozen. Dad smuggled a message via guard. Come see me. Everly. One last talk. For old times. Controversy brewed. Jax vetoed it hard. Trap, he grunted over diner eggs. Fork stabbing yolk like an enemy. But the decision gnawed at me. That pull of unfinished business. The American myth of redemption arcs. Was closure worth the risk? Pundits on CNN would debate it later. Whistleblower's daughter risks all for paternal pity, heroic or hubristic? I went alone. Through Sing Sing's razor wire. The visit room smelling of bleach and broken men. He looked smaller and orange, paunch spilling over the table. Eyes hollowed by fluorescent hate. You won.
Kid.
Empire's ash.
No επαλεγεί.
Just that calculating squint. But you get it now, right? The world's a swap meet, bodies, souls, fortunes. I made you tough. Rage boiled. But I leaned in, voice a whisper. Tough. You made me a ghost. Then the twist. The reversal that flipped the script. He slid a crumpled photo across the table. Me. Original body. Pre-swap. Laughing at a family picnic. But in the background.
Blurred, Mom.
Alive.
Hand on a belly.
You weren't the first, he rasped. Project Echo started with her. I swapped her out when the cancer hit, into a healthier shell. She's alive. Everly. In Reno. New life. New name. Thought you'd destroy it all blind. The world tilted. Mom. Not dead from trials. But remade? A fugitive in the desert. Her mind in a stranger's skin. Courtesy of the man who'd loved her enough to erase her. The truth inverted. My suffering wasn't just cover. It was legacy. A chain of stolen selves Dad wielded like a scepter. I stumbled out, puking in the parking lot gravel. Jax waiting with the engine running. What did the son of a bitch say? Everything. Nothing. The reversal shattered my victory. Revenge tasted hollow, laced with what-ifs. Was freeing her worth allying with the devil? I tracked her down months later. A quiet meet in a Vegas diner off the strip. Her face familiar, yet alien. Laugh lines etched on borrowed cheeks. Everly? God. Look at you. Hugs and tears. But the undercurrent. Resentment. For the life she'd fled. The daughter she'd left to the wolves.
Ending? Pick your poison.
Jax and I built something real in the aftermath. A brownstone in Bed-Stuy. Therapy sessions unpacking the PTSD. His SEAL buddies grilling burgers on stoops while Lila trickled back. Apologies in Hallmark cards. We even reversed the swap. Experimental clinic in Boston piecing my mind back into a donor body, clean slate.
No scars.
But echoes lingering like tinnitus. Dad rots in a supermax cell. Penning manifestos no one reads. His immortality a joke. Happy? In flashes. Jax's hand in mine at dawn runs along the East River. Lila's wedding redo, sans Voss name, where I walked her down the aisle. But the debate festers. Did I avenge or inherit the monster? Mercy at the trial saved jobs but prolonged suffering. The half-leak let cronies slither free. Forums rage. Reddit threads calling me anti-hero icon or enabler elite.
Me?
I wake some nights, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, wondering if souls ever truly swap back. In the end, America's dark heart beats on, power's a thief in the night, and revenge, just another body to bury. But damn if it doesn't feel good to dance on the grave.